What's up, people? It's your girl Karina, aka Eye of Karina, and I am back with more Lilith videos. And I don't know if it will ever end because there's so much to talk about. And I promised that I would be doing a part two to Lilith conjunct the moon. So this is it. This is more of my insights into this specific placement. Okay, so in the first video, check that out if you haven't seen it, because I actually talk about features. And I do feel, even though in classic astrology and popularly known in astrology, the sun and the ascendant are more the influencers of features, but there's something that is truly magnetic about the moon, and for that reason Lilith wants to be seen. And I feel like when you see Lilith conjunct the moon person, you will see some of their features come out. So that is that. Okay, now in the moon energy, the biggest thing that I didn't talk about is the feeling. I did say that they feel very dark, they feel very intense. But what else? Okay, what else is going on in the emotional capacity? So, the Lilith conjunct person tends to be extremely wise with femininity. You have to be, in order to be a construct of change. And so this happens with the moon energy. There's no superficiality happening here at all when the Lilith is conjunct the moon. But what happens when you might have too much wisdom, right? And there is a such thing. There's a such thing as having too much knowing, right? There's a such thing as having too much memory, and for that reason, you can almost prohibit your connection to life, in the sense of creating new things for yourself. So when you're dealing with moon energy, sometimes there is the tendency to go crazy, right? And that tendency can occur when you have so much information, so much pent up trauma or pent up memories that you continue to put on repeat for yourself. And it can happen in triggers. So it can happen, right? You can recognize that you have triggers, but it also can just be something that you continuously replay that story. And when you have that situation, that's when we can lean even more into like a truly unstable mental state. So those who have Lilith in conjunct the moon, and not everybody, but they can have the tendency to be crazy in the sense of unstable. And this is, I say not everybody because not everybody goes that far, but everybody probably has the tendency. And that's because with Lilith energy, especially in its lower form, it wants to remember its existence. And Lilith existence is all about being cast aside. Okay? And because the moon is a feeling versus an action, right? So Lilith conjunct Mars, Lilith conjunct the ascendant, right? Because Lilith is more of a feeling, you can't do but too many things with your feelings, right? So it can become a toxic energy. You can literally poison yourself, right? Because of your feelings. And that is where we can find that instability start to really occur. Now, depending on what sign Lilith is in, there might be more of an ability for Lilith to regain stability, right? So if Lilith is in Taurus, it might be able to gain stability, right? Or at least physically gain it through like eating, right? So at least it's having another outlet, right? Lilith and Scorpio, it might need some more action taken, but this could be maybe of a criminal sense, or wanting to get it out in a way that is maybe not, is pretty dark, right? So maybe it could be being shady or doing something that is strategic, that kind of leads, like, their perceived enemy down a bad path, right? So what I'm getting to is that the moon, because it doesn't have action, the moon just has feeling, right? And because that is where Lilith is born, right? Lilith is born from the moon energy, that it can only fall into itself unless it has certain outlets. And even then, the outlets can be toxic, like I said, overeating or being strategic in trying to hurt somebody or get revenge back, right? Or maybe being overly competitive, right? Like Lilith and Aries, and really trying to, kill the competition, right? Which is a focus on somebody else rather than your own healing. So Lilith conjunct the moon can be a place that is one of the hardest to overcome. Now, when they do overcome it, they have this devil on their shoulder that they have tamed. And when they can do that, when they can tame the devil on their shoulder, they can look at life and perceive trauma, even, and perceive triggers that make them remember their trauma, right? And want to do something of the more nurturing kind. So the moon conjunct Lilith is on a journey of learning how to nurture herself out of her trauma. That's like very simple, but it can be very difficult. And this is maybe a lifelong situation because the moon is so right here with you that it is, nobody really understands the depth and the intensity of purifying the poison that you may feel on a regular basis. And the other thing is that you could feel cast aside for your feelings. Like you could feel like, even more so, like the people that you want to understand you, they don't understand, or they don't see it as that intense, right? And it might be the people that are the closest to you, like your parents, right? So you might be dealing even more with your relationship to nurture, as far as the lack of nurture from parental figures, um, or maybe in how they saw that they nurtured you wasn't what you needed, right? And that can be harder because you're learning how to be a person of divine femininity, right? Which is learning to nurture and have compassion, but you didn't quite get it. So it can even have like a Chiron energy when you're using your Lilith for the betterment of your life. Okay, so that's my part 2 on Lilith conjunct the moon. Stay tuned for more videos. Peace and love.